I was thinking.
All right.
I was thinking
That could be dangerous.
we should start this off like the old MGM movies but instead of having a lion roaring, we should have like a motorcycle roaring, in a little radius with a little fleur-de-lis on either side.
I think you should do your impression of the lion, and we can start with that.
And the Wizard of Oz, they called me Lioness when I worked offshore. They thought I looked like the lion.
No, because you had the beard.
And the hand, and long hair, and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
So, another frustrating week. We got a lot of frustrating weeks here lately.
Yeah. For you, I had a pretty good week.
Well, yeah, the stuff I did for you turned out fine. Just other stuff that's just oddball.
Yeah.
We've been chasing stuff for weeks and.
Nathan did such a good job rebuilding the transmission for the bike I'm working on. I had to pay him a compliment, which I try my hardest not to do.
Yeah, he does, right. And I rode the bike today, and I came back and I said, "Man, Mike, you did a really good job on that transmission."
I did, thank you. I had to do it all myself. Yeah.
You basically just think about it, and it goes into gear. It's like it is really. It shifts.
You
really
said
well.
it's a bizarre transmission.
It's a bizarre transmission. It's a short shaft transmission, which in most cases is a 17.5-degree gearbox. But this is a 15-degree, which is what the long shaft helical gears were. And then this has the early style shift mechanism, when it should have had the late style shift mechanism in it. So I had to be real careful to determine what degree it was, because I changed the top gear and made a 5% taller top, and I had to make sure I put the right one in there.
This is an early R65 LS that we put the Siebenrock kit in to make it like the same power output as an R90/6.
And then we put a taller rear drive to make it useful.
Yeah.
And then we just put a taller gear in the transmission. So it's fun to ride. It's got a lot of power, and you can zip right along at highway speeds if you want to.
Yeah,
so.
Instant power too, because it revs up so quick.
Because it's a short stroke motor, it revs real quickly. So we did a dirt bike like this many years ago. Man, it's a perfect dirt bike. It's 4 inches narrower motor-wise. It's geared real short. Got a ton of power.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun. It's in South Dakota now.
I've had real good luck with those Siebenrock kits. My favorite part about the big cylinder kits from Siebenrock is it comes with everything, which is so rare for something to be. Normally you buy a part and then you have to buy $4.
Well, if you buy it from BMW,
Yeah.
you buy the cylinder, but it doesn't come with the pushrod tubes.
Yeah.
You buy the pushrod tubes, but it doesn't come with the seals.
Literally everything you need
Right.
doing that is in the kit.
Right.
And then you jet it exactly as it came stock, which is weird, but it works. Oh. Exciting.
So we had several people come through or need assistance based on the Airhead Gathering of the Clans up in Ferguson, North Carolina, and the BMW MOA rally up in Virginia. We had a guy from Canada with a sidecar rig come through, and we helped, and then we had a guy with an oil head that broke down a ways from here. We lent him the truck, and he was here for several days. We got him going. Kevin Reimer, who's the Florida Airhead Air Marshal, was here with those guys, and he did the work for him. And then we had a guy in Phoenix break down on an R80 GS. We just happened to have a 3-lug rear drive, which we overnighted him for $300.
How's that doing?
Good, and he'll be here on the 20th. He's going to have us build him a gearbox while he waits, with a shorter first gear and a taller fifth gear.
Yeah, I overheard you saying, there's no reason to pay us for it right now because we have no idea.
We have no idea how good it was. So he paid for the $300 to ship it, and then he put it in, and it's leaking slightly from around the brake shaft. It's got the O-rings that go through there.
The $300 to ship was because he was broke down in some
well, he said he was on the side of the road, and some really nice people picked him up and brought him back to their house and gave him a place to stay and a place to put his bike, and he didn't want to wear out his welcome. And he was from Canada, and he was driving around, and he didn't want to spend any more time there, so we overnighted it to him, and he put it in, and he's got probably 1,400 miles on it now, and he'll be here on, I guess that's Tuesday, I think.
Well, you had the similar situation.
Yeah. I was in the middle of I was in Delta, Utah, back in 04 or 06 or something and my rear drive went out. I had built a bike, and in 98, and then it was laying in Encino, California in somebody's backyard. I bought it, spent 6 days taking it apart and putting it back together. On the way back, there were a porosity issue with the rear drive and it was leaking. And I was in Delta, Utah, which is in the middle of nowhere off of Route 50, the loneliest highway in America. And I made a bunch of calls and finally found the rear drive. And the guy said, well, I'll take it off my bike, because somebody took some parts off their bike a couple weeks ago for me. And so he took it off his bike. I was holed up in a little motor lodge, and he started to come, and then he called me. He said, my car's broke down. He said, I'm 2 hours from my house. And I talked to a retired doctor before I called him, who said, I don't have any, but if I can help you, let me know. So I called the doctor, and I said, here's the guy's number. He said, where is he? He said, oh, he's actually on the way between where I am and where you are. So he drove to this guy and picked it up from him while the guy's wife came with the truck to pick up his car. He came to Delta, Utah, a little motor lodge where I was. I had my rear drive off and I had it in a box. I had the bike all up and torn down, and there was a big lodge there where these workers were staying. And the guy came down at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, oh, what are you doing here? And I had a flashlight in my mouth. And I told him, he says, well, can I help you with anything? I said, it'd be great if I had a torque wrench and a 17mm socket. He goes, hold on. He makes a call. He goes, jump in the truck. We drive way out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. There's a guy standing there in his underwear with a 3-day stubble on. He's holding a torque wrench with a 7, and he goes, what's this for? And the guy goes, I'll tell you later. He hands it to me. We drive all the way back about the same time the doc gets there in his old Mercedes. He shines his light on my bike and hands it to me, and I put it all together, and he goes, is there anything else you need? And I go, well, you know, I got gear oil, but it would be nice if I had a syringe. He said, what, are you kidding? I got a trunk full of them, a retired physician. He pulls out a syringe and hands it to me. We fill it up. I hand him mine. He goes back and mails it back to me, and I head on down the road to Phoenix. I mean, the whole thing was just, it was bizarre. It was great, and I thanked these guys and said it. So when people break down, they get our full attention. I mean, you're broke down over the road. You need somebody to help you.
That's something that
they take priority immediately.
I liked when I noticed when I first started working here, is that wheel was up there forever. That guy who got hit outside of town, remember that? He was on like an oil head of some sort, and somebody hit him. He kept the bike upright, but it smashed his rim in, and we were able to get him out in like an hour and a half or something. It was like we just happened to have one upstairs and threw it on there. And
well, you know, we had a guy come through from DC or something about a month and a half ago, and he was having starter problems, and we decided it was his relay, and so I tossed him a relay, and he left. And he called today. He said, hey, I need to pay you for that relay. We didn't know if it was any good. It was used. He said, I need to pay you for the relay. And so he PayPal us $20. He said, give me $10. He PayPal us $20 to cover it. You know, it's just the way it should be. That's part of the motorcycling community. I see people on the side of the road. I pull over, or I go, hey, and they go, you know, I pull over and try to help them out.
Oh, that happens to me all the time when I stop to take pictures. People will always slow down and ask me, and I'm like, usually they I can see them looking, and they can see a camera in my hand, and then they're like, oh, he's just taking pictures. But sometimes which is nice.
I read today something real interesting. I think it happened in Utah. The local police in this town got a 911 call a couple days ago from a guy who said there were some aliens in his backyard, space aliens. And he said they were 8 or 9 or 10 foot long, and they had big eyes. And so the dispatcher called whoever the closest policeman was. And he said, yeah, he said, I'm sitting here and I got it on my camera. Something flew across back in here and crashed back in here, right near where this guy's calling. And he said, and so they got backup. And he said, I'm a little afraid to go over there. Well, they went over to the house. Meanwhile, some other people called who lived in the same neighborhood. And they never said, first off, they didn't say what happens when the guys got there. What they did say was, they didn't consider it a hoax. And the next day, the men in black showed up. And the neighbors started complaining that they were putting cameras up in their backyards, and they didn't let anybody. He said a bunch of black cars with government plates showed up the next day. He said, and we did not consider this a hoax call. And then we don't really know what's going on, but we got the crash on film on the guy's camera, and they went out to see him, and all these people are sure something happened, and we'll never know what happened, but there's some and at the end of it, I read what the guy said when he made the phone call, and he said, "They look like humans, but they don't look like humans." And then she said he hung up, and we sent 2 officers over there. I said, "Well, that's pretty interesting." I figured, I said, they're out in Nevada, the aliens. Well, it's probably whatever. But no, they said it was, it was kind of like the invasion of the body snatchers, where the thing crashes in the backyard and the kid sees it, and the next thing you know, everybody's in a little pod. And so I love that kind of stuff. I think that's, I mean, obviously they've been there. They were all around us. You're probably an alien. You never know.
When I was born in the hollow moon.
Born on the 4th of July?
I was born in the hollow moon. And
born on a mountaintop in Tennessee?
Yeah, in 1750.
Killed a bear when you were only 3?
Yeah.
What name was that baby Crockett?
I don't know if I believe in aliens.
I mean, I wonder how many aliens are driving around on old BMWs. We've certainly had a couple of lunatics come in here who could very well be.
Oh, yeah.
That guy who came in a couple of weeks ago wanted to pay us with Bitcoin wallets and all this kind of weird. Remember him?
I remember him.
He came back again. And he said, he came in one day looking for something. He said, "I'm sure I'm not your favorite person." And I said, "Well, you're not, but you're not my worst favorite either."
The weirdest vibes I ever got from a person was the guy who came in and he just looked at you and he goes, "Please give me a job."
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just that he was asking for a job. There was like something weird going on. And then I think I watched him like walk away. It was...
You're lucky you didn't come back with a.
That was the vibe I was getting. Yeah. If you don't give me a job, I'm gonna fucking shoot up the place, like that. It was. I was kind of hanging around, making sure everything went all right.
When we first moved in here, Dean and I were in here one day, and this guy came in, and he said, "I'm here to pick up my motorcycle." And we said, "Well, which is yours?" He said, "Oh, that 883." And we go, "We don't have any 883." He goes, "Oh, come on, man, don't be telling me that. You got my motorcycle." And we said, "We don't have your bike." And he started getting real belligerent, and everybody got prepared. And then his buddy came in the door, and he said, "Hey, John, this isn't the place we took the bike. It's the next street down, all the way down on the right, where the tow truck goes." And the guy just looked at us and turned around and walked out the door. So,
well, wouldn't you be kind of pissed if you thought you dropped your bike off at a place?
Well, the guy's eyes were about as this. The guy was already pretty screwed up, and so
yeah.
But we were, all of a sudden we could tell something was about to happen. So, fortunately, the whole thing calmed down real quickly. It's just part of dealing with the public. It's one of those.
Oh yeah.
One of those things, and then so. All of a sudden, again, we're getting inundated with motorcycles. We're already 2 years behind. We had a bike come in
today. Has it ever stopped?
Well, we had a bike come in from Birmingham today.
Okay.
Another one of our early GSs, R100s, and he's bringing us an R90/6 to work on. And then this guy who we just talked to, Jared, is sending us a bike. And then we got.
A R75/5.
Right, got the 75 with the high pipe on it. And we got the guy coming to have some, quick stuff done on his tour bike. We got another transmission today, and it's just it's crazy because we can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And the guy who came today from Birmingham, I said, "It'll be 6 months maybe before he would look at it." He said, "I'm fine. I got other stuff to ride."
There's the only other person I know in the Southeast is David Woodburn.
Well,
and he's up to his neck.
Right. Well, you got David Carmine up outside of Richmond.
Yeah.
But he's not just BMW. He does all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I don't know of anyone else in a 5 or 6 state area that well, like this guy from Florida brought us up. He called.
There's Hex Moto down in West Palm, but
okay.
That's kind of far away from us.
This guy here from Florida called Ted Porter and asked him, because he moved from Pennsylvania to Florida, and asked Ted Porter about it. Ted Porter sent him here, and so he brought the bike up from Florida. That's this one set.
That's nice, Ted.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot of stuff.
I doubt he watches this, but...
Well, we're doing work for a guy. who lives now in Cambodia. He's worked for the CIA, and he's been in South Sudan, which has been just a complete disaster. And I got 3 emails from him today. He's back, and he's retiring now. But we done a transmission and rear drive for him. But it's been kind of interesting talking to him. He's been in the middle of the craziness that's going on in Sudan now, and all the people who are starving, and all the terrorists fighting the government, and all the crazy stuff. And he said 8 months before I retire, they send me there. He said, I thought it was done, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of this crazy stuff going on. I said, but I'm back now. I'm back at home. I'm back in Phnom Penh.
Trying to get out of their pension.
He was here last year. I don't know if you remember. He walked in the door with a small plywood case, and he said, hey, I'm such and such, and here's my transmission. And I said, how'd you get it here? And he said, on an airplane. And I said, well, I mean, how? He said, well, just put it under the seat. And I said, how do you put a transmission in a box under the seat? And he goes, I'm CIA, I can do whatever I want to do. So he said, here, I need it done in 2 weeks, which was our agreement. And I did it in 2 weeks. And then he showed up with a bunch of those 6% beer, not light beer, the ginger beer, the beers that he knew that I liked. So he brought the
ciders.
Ciders, yeah. He brought up 4 cases of cider. Here, thanks for getting it done real quickly. And he took it home with him. Then he sent us his rear drive. Murray did his rear drive, and we sent it to a guy who sent it to him in Cambodia. And he just got back this last week and mounted it. So that's been kind of interesting. You know, did some work for somebody in Germany. They had to get that rear wheel we do for the tubeless tire. He had to get it to pass the TÜV. And he got it to pass the TÜV in Germany, so we can build them now and send them to Germany. They can mount them on their bikes. That was kind of a fun thing. That was about a 6-month little deal. It wasn't hard to do it. It was just he had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get them to be able to let him put it on his bike and put it on the street. It has to go through some inspection.
Yeah.
So.
Which isn't the worst idea in the world.
No, I hear you. It'll never happen in this country. Lobbyists would be all over it. But
at least one bike I can think of that.
Every bike we have in here is a Bitsa bike. What are you kidding?
No, but the one you told the guy it was a death trap.
It was a death trap.
From a liability standpoint, you kind of have to be brutal with someone if they bring in a bike like that and they're like, I only want this done, and you got to be like, you shouldn't be riding. You know what I mean.
Well, I mean, we had one guy who brought us his bike, and he was running his Snowflake tires tubeless. He wanted the tires put on it. I said, I'm not running them tubeless. I'll put a tube in. No, I've never run a tube. Well, that's stupid. I'm not doing that because the bike wasn't designed, the rim's not designed for it. You know, and so we didn't do it, and he wasn't happy about it, but said, hey, take it somewhere else. A lot of stuff like that.
Yeah,
we've had side stand. Well, I want you to put the side stand so it stays out. No way. You know, then you'll fall over because you forget to do it. You'll get paralyzed, and you'll end up owning my shop, and I'll be at your house, you know, shoveling, whatever. So, yeah. You know, you gotta. I mean, when I was racing, there was a fellow who brought us his race bike. One of the rallies we had. We took one look at it, and we were like, "You racing this? You can pass tech with this? There's no way." Oh, well, I've made a few changes since last year. There ain't no way this is going to pass tech. I wouldn't even ride this bike on the street, But there's lots of that stuff you see out there that you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Tires that got the cord showing. Chicken Larry and I were out in New Mexico somewhere. We pulled into a gas station, and this guy came down in the Goldwing. We could hear him a half a mile away because he had like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony on and speakers. It was blasting, and so I was kind of humming along. He showed up and he looked at us, and Larry was on his police bike, his KZ1000, and I was on my GS. And the guy looked at me and he said, "It was Georgia, man. There's no way I'd ride that bike to Georgia." And I looked at his front tire, which was bald, and a torch showing. And I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to New Hampshire." And I said, "But that tire, I got one waiting for me." We just looked at it and I go, "I hope you got a coffin waiting for you too, because there's no way in hell that tire's making it from here. You'll be lucky to get another 50 miles down the road." "Oh, I'm fine." And he gassed up and boogied on down the road, and we just looked at him. I'm glad he's going that way and we're going this way, so we don't have to pick him up off the side of the road. So we didn't want to ride our bikes because they didn't look real comfortable. To look at his tire and say, "Come on, common sense would tell you this thing ain't gonna make it." But it wasn't our deal. So.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. There's a lot of times where you just have to say, "People, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
You take it somewhere else. Well, nobody else will do it. Well, there's a reason why. So you can do it all you want yourself. You know, like taking the ABS pump out of a lot of that stuff. A lot of people took it out. You can go online and you can go on IBMWR. It'll tell you how to take your ABS pump out of your R11 GS. But I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bad idea. So I might do it on my own bike for myself if I had one, but I'm not going to do it for a customer and then have them come back and sue me and tell me I caused their problem.
It's always different when it's your own bike.
Right. Especially if it's your own bike.
Yeah,
Or is it sitting in the living room still?
No. I get it stashed away somewhere.
Right. Do you remember where it is?
Yeah.
Remember the combination to the lock where it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. Just checking.
It's in a storage place.
One of these days you'll supply us and it'll show up here.
Maybe. I'll probably need Garrett's help getting it in a truck, which is nice because he only lives a block away from where it
It
is.
doesn't run?
No, it runs.
Sort of.
Battery was dead the last. I had to.
Well, it's been sitting 2 years. What do you
Yeah,
expect?
I had to push it to where it is now, but it was all downhill, so we're good. Yeah, it's safe. I just gotta.
Yeah, but why have a motorcycle if you don't ever ride it?
It's my. After I buy a new truck or car, then saving up for because I just want to do it right.
Well, if you rode that bike every day, you could save more money on gas and all, and then your truck would come quicker.
That's fair. There's just a bunch of stuff I want to do, and I wasn't a very good mechanic when I started working on that bike, and there's a lot of things I want to go through and fix. So it's gonna need a week on the left. I want to go every single place.
I think you should bring it in and build what you want, and then put it up for sale, and then build another one.
Yeah, that's
It's like
not a
you did
bad idea.
That R65
Yeah.
Red Scrambler we started the economy scrambler stuff with.
I'm just kind of attached to it. Yeah. I get attached to things.
Well, you know, we now have that R80 monoshock
Yeah.
that we got from
Which we talked about.
right,
Last
right,
time.
which would be a great project bike of some sort. We just don't have the time
Yeah.
right now to do it.
I want an R100, but
We can make it into an R100 pretty easily. We have a whole top end for it. The entire thing that we got from Chuck Pryor when we did a bunch of swapping when he's building his new bike came off. Everything's good. It's a Nickasil. It's a complete top end. Everything's out there. Rockers, the whole 9 yards. You know, you could peg your R80 and bolt those heads right to there. You just have to put 2 head gaskets on it.
yeah, but I wouldn't do it on my R80
Why?
because I'm locked into a 3711 rear drive. So that's the problem. The R80's got more juice. It's just
It's 50 horsepower.
yeah,
other
it's
one's
just that
60
that's pretty
horsepower.
low.
Right. Well, I'm trying to buy some stuff from this guy who's got a bunch of GS stuff. He's got 3 rear drives. I got his number from Bobby today, and I don't know if he's got a 3210. I know he's got 3711s. Or we could buy a ring and pinion and build a 3210.
Here's my question: could you do like you did the monoshock on Andy's?
I'm in the process. You're going to tell me the same thing the guy told me today. Can I take the ring and pinion out of a power lever and
No,
put it
no,
in a
no,
mono
no,
lever?
no.
Okay.
I'm gonna say because we replaced a paralever rear drive with a monolever rear drive.
Right. And the swing arm and the dry shaft.
I guess it wouldn't work
Complete
because
unit.
one's 4 lug and one's 3 lug.
One's 4 holes and one's 3 lugs.
Right.
But it's still a monolever setup. So you can still put your wheel on that, but it wouldn't be tubeless. We're doing a tubeless conversion also. We want to keep this tubeless wheel. That's why we went with the 4 lug, 4 hole. If we wanted to use yours on something like that, I mean, you already got it, but if you want to make it longer, which people do, they're going to run desert and all that stuff.
No, the question, it would just be because you get more freedom with the gearing of a
Right,
4
but
lug
we're
mono.
having a lot of trouble finding it. You know, we bought a new one today from a dealer who
a final drive.
well, we saw that this place in Jersey never answers their phone, and when they do, nobody ever calls you back. But we won't get into that. But they advertised they had one.
sounds like a Jersey thing.
They advertised they had one, and we tried to buy it, and it turns out they didn't have it. But we found one in Spain, reconditioned at a good price. We bought that today. We also, and that's a 3210, which is the road gear. The 3210 went on the RT, and the 3311 went on the RS. But we also found, I found a 3711, which came on the R80, and that's still usable depending on what you're going to do to the bike. If we make a tubeless tire bike, if you're going to ride it up in the woods and all that, then you can deal with it. Because I had 3711 in my R80 GS for years, and then it wasn't until I went tubeless that I changed that.
Yeah,
Put
but
all-wheel drive on.
a 3711 with a 17-inch wheel would be pretty short.
That would help a little bit. That would
It'd
help
be-
a little bit. Because it would speed it up a little bit
Yeah, but that's not what I want. I want
to go the other way.
taller.
Well, the only thing you could go with a different profile tire, taller aspect ratio tire.
Well, that's what I got on there now. I gotta it's a ridiculously big tire. It's like a 130/90, but you know, tire sizes don't really mean anything. You have to look up the circumference on the dealer spec sheet if you really want to know. Which I got in trouble, not in trouble, but I was talking a little trash on someone's tire sizes. That is like Bridgestone or something on Goldstroke. They like the 120 90 was just not 90 at all. It was like a 120/70. And then like Bridgestone USA commented on my post and they're like, if you need any help, we're willing to help you out. And I'm like, man, I got caught.
Which reminds me, Mikey got interviewed on the 247 podcast,
Oh yeah.
and that'll be out in a couple of years.
I don't know how I did.
He said he fell asleep in the middle.
I spaced out for it. There might be sections where I'm just not making any sense. It might be the shortest
No,
episode.
no, the parts that you spaced out are probably the times when you are making sense. It's the times that you're cognizant that you weren't making any sense.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there it all works out. But we're all anxious to hear what Mikey has to say, because he told stories on everybody in the shop, so we'll see what happens.
No, just you and Garrett, really. I didn't have time for anybody else. I wanted to, but
We'll wait and see what you said.
I think we're
We're
it's
good?
closing time.
Okay,
Yeah, 28 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
The cowbell telling us we're done.